have a lot of people that ask me, what photographers do I follow on Instagram? And I tell them none. I don't follow photographers on Instagram just because I don't want to copy their work. And it's not about copying, it's being inspired.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I like to follow producers, cinematographers, DPs, lighting, gaffing, the whole 9 yards. I want to know how other creators are telling their story.
Come into the light.
Shadow moves in the dark.
Congratulations! World's best cup of coffee.
What is it? Gaff tape.
Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Gaff Tape. I am Nate Anderson, joined once again by my buddy, Daniel Larson.
Hey, what's up, friends?
And as you know, as you hopefully know, if you've watched or listened or engaged with us for any point in time, that our goal, our intention is always bringing light into the shadows of production, sharing your story, highlighting your experience, and, kind of commiserating as production people do, right? So
yes, it is.
Today's episode is really no exception, and I'm really excited for it because, we talk about a lot of different disciplines as it relates to production on this show. And today I think we're talking a little bit about somebody who's kind of more on the periphery, but still very much involved in the experience.
That's right. Sounds like you're talking about production catering. Gotcha.
Very close.
No. We are talking about production photography today. So we're going to sit down with the live event photographer for Elevation Church, one of the many. They have a whole team there. Blue Amber is what she goes by on Instagram and what she's mostly known by as Blue Amber. But here's the thing. She's not just in the worship space. She also is in the greater live event space, shooting shows for Bieber, John Mayer, Snoop, Rolling Stones. So she has definitely taken her talents, outside of the walls of the church. And I really think that it's going to be cool to hear her perspective on not just event photography and what that entails, but also this idea of highlighting production through using that lens.
Yeah.
Sorry for the pun, but it is a pun. But she really does take it upon herself to highlight those that are in the shadows.
Yeah.
Because in her view, they're just as important to an experience as the people that are on stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so I think it's going to be pretty cool.
For sure. Yeah. And quick reminder before we do that, I don't think we have any new reviews to share today, do we?
No new reviews.
Yeah.
But like, follow, share, subscribe, comment, heart, review, and by now you guys know why. It's not about us knowing that we're doing a good job. It's about the people that are going to come across this, whether you share it with them or they stumble across it online. They need to know what kind of show this is, that this show is here to support them, to show them honor, and to see what they're doing in the shadows because it's so important. And we just want to bring light to that, even if they don't want it.
Absolutely.
All right, should we jump into the episode?
Let's do it.
All right, we are here with Blue Amber Photography. But Amber, I am going to lead with our first question, just to clarify, who is Blue, who is Amber, and I just want to make sure I'm calling you by the right name.
Yeah, so my given name is Amber Smith. That's my given name.
Okay.
However, I had started off in a photography business, freelancing, and starting out just like everyone else does with families and babies and weddings and all the above. And I needed to do a rebrand with my business. So I was looking up what amber meant. And amber is a fossilized sap. And that didn't sound very meaningful. But when I dug a little bit deeper, what it generally is it's something that preserves things, which is something I wanted to do in my work.
Oh.
And then the most sought after amber, or the most sought after amber stone, is called the blue amber. And so I wanted to be highly sought after in my work. And so I went with that. and it stuck. And now everyone either calls me Blue or Blue Amber.
That's funny.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Well,
So
welcome.
yeah. So
Thank you.
as part of this, journey of Amber, Amber and holding things in memory. Obviously we mentioned you're a photographer, and what does that look like? How did you end up doing what you're doing, and how did you end up in the shadows of production?
Honestly, it was through the magic of Facebook. So anytime that I started posting anything, I would get 500 of their friends that would see my work, and then it kind of snowballed from there. And my whole production life really ended up when I started going to Elevation Church. I had been doing some photography for a company called Elliott Guitars.
Okay.
And Andy Elliott, who makes those guitars, that's my godfather.
Oh.
And so I had really grown up around musicians and production. I started doing their all of their Instagram, and it kind of went from there. And then when I started doing photography at Elevation Church, it kind of went from that to wanting to get more into the music industry. And so I reached out to some media outlets in Charlotte and asked if I could start shooting some music for them. And they were all about it. So right now I do a lot of media work for magazines. I've done some promotional work for a worship ministry magazine and Charlotte Culture, and just kind of snowballed from there.
That's cool.
Wow.
What attracts you? I know, so you mentioned kind of music from your godfather, but like what attracts you or attracted you specifically about doing photography for live events?
I grew up playing, being classically trained in piano, and I know music. And so what I want to do now is translate that audio world visually.
Mm.
And the way that I can do that is through my photography. I felt like, honestly, the Lord called me into that direction. And then when I was able to shoot live music every weekend at church, I just really dove into it and started studying every single day. A lot of people ask me, does this come natural to you? It does not. It is a learned talent. It's something that you have to study every single day. Same as when you practice piano or you practice any instrument. That's something that you have to, it's an applied learning that you have to do.
Wow. Okay. So you talked about this, kind of like the start of shooting music at Elevation. How did you get connected to Elevation? Did you just, kind of say, hey, I want to serve in this way? Or did they approach you? Did you know someone that, was kind of like in the production world there? How did that come about?
So at every campus, we have over 20 different campuses around the South. We even have one up in Canada. And we have volunteer teams at our church in photography. And so the first time that I went to Elevation was 8 years ago. And I was going through a really bad divorce at the time, and walked in the door, and I had taken 2 of my boys, and my oldest son, Avery, has autism. He's high functioning autistic. And when I walked out of that church with him, I will never forget it. Avery said, "Mom, I feel like we just went to the Disney World of churches."
That's awesome.
Like the lights, the music, everything. Just like walking through the door, and the volunteers and the staff there are so welcoming, and they're genuinely happy to see you there. And I loved being in around that atmosphere. And my uncle, or my godfather, Andy Elliott, he had actually messaged me before I went and said, hey, I've got this guy down at this church in Charlotte, and he's playing my guitar this weekend. Do you want to go? He said he could get us seats. And I was like, what do you mean he can get us seats? This is church.
That's awesome.
He's like, no, people are literally wrapped around the building, ready to get into this church. And so I went and just absolutely fell in love with it. Pastor Stephen and his teachings are something that when he preaches it on Sunday, I can automatically apply it to my life throughout the whole week.
Yeah.
And in his teachings too, he's very black and white with his communication, which absolutely spoke to my high functioning autistic son who could get it. He wasn't like speaking way over his head. And it was something that as a mom was invaluable to be able to go to.
Yeah.
Then when you see the behind the scenes, the more that I was there, the more that you see behind the scenes of the people who are actually pulling it off. And those are the people that work in the shadows. And photographers are included in that. We work in the shadows. And when I do some photography teaching with some groups, and I'm like, with the people who work in those shadows, it's like, that's an amazing spot to be in, that you just can't live there. Because when you live there, you will start to feel like no one sees you because you're there all the time. And as a photography team, we are able to take the people that are in the shadows and take those timeless pictures that are a blessing and are just telling someone on the other side of that camera, you are seen, you are valuable, and what you're doing matters. So I was very thankful to be able to be in that spot.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so I want to stay on this topic here because this is why I felt compelled to reach out to you. You know, after I had seen a post by Zach Kimmery at Elevation tagging you in it, and you know, I follow what you guys are doing there, and you know, I see a lot of your imagery and the stuff that you capture as part of that, you know, kind of experience. And he started talking about how you go out of your way to highlight the production team and the things that are going on behind the scenes, what people aren't really seeing. And that spoke to me because being in production, and you know, this is a production tech podcast, like a lot of people listening are those people that are behind the scenes, not getting noticed, not necessarily that they want to be, because a lot of them are introverts and they're cool with that. But I think to me, there's just a really cool connection there between this idea of a photographer, you know, going out of their way to highlight the aspects of production like you do. And I'd love to kind of know, like, where does that come from? You know, has that always been something that you've wanted to do, or have you kind of learned that over time, the importance of what role production plays? Like, where does that kind of come from for you? And I would just love to kind of hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So it did not ever start out with being in a headspace that I felt like the people behind the scenes weren't being seen enough. That was something that I had to have a conversation with someone to understand more of. And my dad, who is a pastor and a farmer, which is a weird combination, but he is. And he says, he has a great quote that says, the happiness is when you're preparing a safe space for someone else to be on stage. And that you could insert happiness with production very quickly, because a lot of people don't get to see that or really understand everything that goes into it. I remember I had a conversation with someone in production that said, I wish that we got pictures as much as the people on stage, because we are here twice the amount of time setting things up, tearing things down, building new stages, doing different lighting. And it hit me. I feel like we are really missing the mark in this area. And when I talk to my own photography team at church, I'm telling them we're going to change how we honor our production teams. We're not going to let them sit in a space where they don't feel seen and heard. And not from a perspective of an ego at all, because ego is not even a thing with this. Because like you said, most of the people that are in production are the introverts.
Right.
They're the people that don't really want to be seen on stage, but they want to be able to help pull it off. And that's just as important as the people on the stage. To be able to, whether you're doing church or you're doing a concert at Ovens Auditorium or wherever you're doing, setting up that stage, it's really important that we show honor to those people.
I love that.
That's cool, because it is all part of the same experience, whether you are on stage or helping facilitate that visual audio experience. You're a part of that event and part of that, making that experience happen. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so kind of building on that, I think that live event photography is something that not a lot of organizations necessarily prioritize. And yet, a lot of the, kind of aspirational organizations that we look at and are like, oh man, like that looks amazing. Like, I wonder if we should try something like that, or how are they doing that? It's because of a live event photographer that was there capturing that experience and sharing it. Yes. And so talk to us a little bit about kind of live event photography and why maybe an organization might want to look into something like that as a way to help kind of give a window into what's going on.
So I found it funny that whenever I would talk to a couple that was getting married, and I would even a month ago ask this question: if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently? And they would say, absolutely putting more money into photography, because that we can remember those events. Our kids won't, because our kids are not here yet. and honestly, what I'm doing in my church photography, I am taking images for the next generation of people that are coming up, so that they can see what was happening. We were there. We have visuals in our mind of what was happening, but the next generation does not. And it's important that not only are we getting videos, but we're also getting those stills. And also putting a lot of money and teaching into the people who are taking the photos. So I think I don't want it to ever to be get in a place to where when I'm shooting an event, whether it's music or whatever event is taking place, that I am telling the story of the person whose vision it was to have this event. So if I'm walking into any event, I first message whoever's in charge and say, I need to know what your vision is for this event, because that's the story that I need to tell. And I have a lot of people that ask me, what photographers do I follow on Instagram? And I tell them none. I don't follow photographers on Instagram, and I know that's a weird way of looking at it, but I don't follow a lot of photographers on Instagram. I don't study a lot of other photographers, just because I don't want to copy their work. And it's not about copying, it's being inspired.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I like to follow producers, cinematographers, DPs, lighting, gaffing, the whole 9 yards. I want to know how other creators are telling their story. so that will inspire me in my work.
Man.
That is really
because
good.
I feel like there's a lot of different ways to tell a story. It's not just about visuals, but you have to have that audio. That has to be a huge thing. That has to be one of the major ways to be able to tell the complete story. So I like to follow and study how everyone else is doing their job and to be able to tell that story in a complete way.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Amber, I think you just dropped a bomb on us there.
Yeah.
And that's like, I love the idea of, because so many times we look with whatever creative pursuit that we're doing, we're like, hey, let's go and look at what other people are doing that are doing the same, attempting to do the same thing that we're doing. And it's like, well, that's not how you can stand out. That's not how you have your own inspiration. You need to do it by going to the source and looking at, how to innovate in those areas. So that's really cool. In kind of a similar topic, I'd love to know a little bit just about your day-to-day as an event photographer. I know that church is not the only thing that you're photographing. So maybe talk to us a little bit about what does your day-to-day look like in some of those other areas? And then the other part of it is I'd love to know how do you think about those events differently? How do you think about an event, a different musical event or a live event differently from what you do at Elevation?
So what I normally do is if I'm going in to shoot if I'm going to shoot someone like either John Mayer or Snoop, I usually will go find video of the last concert that was posted so that I can see what the lighting is going to look like.
Yeah.
Because and then I can choose what lenses that I want to bring because different lenses project different emotions. The same way that a major chord and a minor chord makes your viewer feel differently. Lenses do the same thing visually. And so if I'm doing a lot of youth events, just like with what Zach posted, the Instagram story that he posted, he was talking about me highlighting production. That was for a 168 hours live stream event that we did at church for our youth. And when I shoot a lot of youth events, I'll tend to go wider. So I'll use a lot of 10s to 15s, 20 millimeter lenses, because that projects more energy than an 85 or 50. So it's about studying the event that I'm doing and then understanding the emotions that want to be projected through the visuals. And so if I'm gonna, I know if in Charlotte we have the Fillmore, we've got Visual Light Theater, we've got PNC, we've got Charlotte Metro. There's a lot of different live event venues that we have. Those have different photo pits in them. Some of them are closer to the stage, some of them are farther away from the stage. If I'm I shot Beck one time for a media outlet called Charlotte Culture. I shot them, and when I got the instructions for that, it was you get the first 3 songs from the front of house.
Wow,
that was it. That's all you get. So with that, I had to understand exactly how far I am from the stage at that point. So looking up those venues, understanding how far you are from what you're going to be shooting. I had to bring my 28 to 300, and that was really, I think I shot with that, and I shot with a 20 mil to get a big wide shot. But just like understanding what you're going to be shooting and what the vision is for that, and then understanding your equipment enough to know what it means. And it's not just enough to pick up a camera and go shoot it if you want to do an amazing job, because I tell everybody, God gives us our gifts as Lego sets. He doesn't give you your creative gift to completely all put together and you know how to do everything. You have to take that and you have to put it together. You have to read the instructions. You have to know why this piece is going this direction and why this piece is going that direction. And you have to put all of that together. And then he'll be able to take you to and give you a whole new creative eye that will allow you to be able to sink a little bit deeper into what's going on and how to project that in your work.
Wow.
Love it.
Wow. You sound like a mom of boys with the Lego set reference.
Yeah,
Well done.
absolutely.
Well done. Well done. Okay. So, we're getting close to the end of our time together, but we always want to ask, what is your why? Like, gear is great. You mentioned gear, knowing your gear, the lenses you're using, for me, it's amazing to listen to an expert talk about, the tools that they use to, perform their craft. And that's all well and good, but what is at the heart of what you do? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, that's a good question that I get, that I honestly don't get enough. Usually I will get the question of, what are you using to get this? What are you using to get that? And I want to shake these people and say, you're not asking the right question.
Yeah.
The question is, why? Why am I doing this? Why am I using that? Because when you can understand the whys behind something, you'll be able to be creative in a whole different way. Instead of just looking at something and saying, oh, that's really, really cool. I want to know how to do that. And I want to know the quick way to make that happen. Ask me why I'm using it. What emotion am I trying to project through it? It's the same reason why there are our lighting guys will throw different colors to the stage, because it projects different emotions.
Sure.
Just through color theory.
Yeah.
And so thank you for asking that question.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
So the why behind is because I think that God has given each of us a creative gift. I know a lot of people say, I could never do that, or I don't know how to paint, or I don't know how to do this or do that. I think it's funny that Bob Ross, this is a Bob Ross quote.
Yes.
He says, talent is a pursued interest. It's a pursued interest. And, he met a lot of people that would come to him and say, that looks great, but I could never do that.
Yeah.
And he would tell them, yes, you can. I can show you in 30 minutes on PBS how to make that happen.
Right.
But the artist why behind is always because there is something, an inert ability, an inert God-given ability that you have that is just aching to get out. And if you can find what that is and pursue it, that's amazing. You'll get great at it. But where you're going to lose out on it is if you stop there and you don't give that out to other people. You don't teach other people, because the joy of what you do will be illuminated 5,000% when you're able to teach someone else and to help someone else understand what their creative gifts are, whether it's photography or videography, lighting, audio engineering, mixing, whatever it is, it's something that is inside of you and you feel it. And sometimes people have no idea what it is. They'll do 50 different creative things before they actually latch on to what they want to continue to do throughout their entire life.
Yeah.
And I ask people on my team to don't let a day go by where you're not learning something. And you're not learning something from someone who is in a creative field, but is not doing the exact same thing that you're doing. If you're only studying photography, you are missing out on all the other creative fields that could be inspiring your work in your specific niche that hasn't taken you where you're to your fullest of what you can accomplish. So I like to say that my why is I feel like God's given me a gift, and I don't want to give that back to him halfway.
Yeah.
So true.
Because he doesn't
Responsibility.
give. Yes, it's a responsibility that you're given, that you need to take that and learn every single bit that you can from it. And you will never reach a point to where you feel like you got it all, or you know it all. There's always someone out there that knows way more than you do. There's always more that you can learn. So if you ever find a creative that's like, okay, I'm a pro, I know what I'm doing. You never reach that far.
Yeah, that's across
You're
the
never
board.
there.
Yeah.
Never there. And I appreciate what God has given me. And I don't want to give that back to him any other way than 1,000%.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I love, Amber, that everything you're saying applies to photography, but it applies to any other discipline as well.
Absolutely.
And even just the training bit about, you can also learn by being a leader, equipping other people as well. And you can't miss that opportunity to learn from them as well.
Right.
Absolutely. And then don't overlook people that are in the shadows.
There you go.
Don't overlook them, because they are making it all happen. Honor them, especially if you're in church photography. Honor the people that are in the shadows, because those are the production people are the ones that, if they all decided to leave for the day, it would get done. They not only bring the talent, but they bring the knowledge of the equipment that they've studied, and honestly, their joy for what they do, because that has to be a niche that you have to enjoy too. Production has to be one of those things that you have a big heart for, and same way with photography, it's not enough just to have a big heart. You've got to have the knowledge behind it, and the people who are pulling all that off have that, and we have a great opportunity to be able to bless them and to make sure that they are seen, where other teams don't have that opportunity to do that. We are able to tell that story for them. And honestly, my dad was in music. He was a bassist, and I don't have any pictures of him on stage. And so one of the reasons why I take a lot of pictures, especially of production, is and the people, even like the musicians, is because those are the pictures I wish I had of my dad.
Yeah.
And those are the pictures that their kids are going to appreciate.
Wow.
That's cool.
Amazing.
It's that next generation.
Thank you for bringing us full circle.
Mm-hmm.
That was perfect.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done. All right. Well, Amber, thank you again for spending this time with us. I think it was super insightful.
Yeah.
And just super thankful you answered my random DM, and we were able to set this up. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was. It's really cool how we're finding people from different disciplines across production who have different perspectives on it. I wouldn't say from an outside perspective, because she's still involved with it, but as somebody who is watching the process go down creatively from a holistic perspective, because so many of the times, we think that production is going to be in the shadows, and we talked about that a lot. The production sinking back into the shadows, but her perspective on it is it's still part of the experience, and everybody's doing their part, whether you're on stage or off.
Yeah,
so it's really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think too, the other interesting thing there was her taking that gifting that, God had given her, and then using that in the church space.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but then hearing, she mentioned this conversation she had with someone, on production, just talking about like photography and like, wishing that production had some pictures and things like that, and her taking the time to listen to that gave her a brand new perspective on what production was. Because she
Right.
said she didn't always think of production
Yeah.
as
Sure.
as that. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of our experiences.
Mhm.
Until you start to be around it and be exposed to it, and you're like, oh wow, like this is there's a lot more to this than maybe what I'm seeing on a screen or what I'm seeing while I'm sitting in my seat.
Right.
And it's cool how she took that and did something with it and has chosen to highlight production as an integral part of that. So hopefully you guys listened to this conversation and you felt encouraged that you are seeing that production is obviously a super important aspect of people's experiences, and that you come away feeling encouraged.
Yeah, and I thought there was a lot of good lessons too. Again, across any discipline, but especially the one about her not following any
Oh my gosh,
photographers.
yeah, that was awesome.
Because that's something for me that I'm like, man, we're always looking for the next inspiration, the next creative thing. And you can learn a lot from other people that are in the same field as you do. And I think, there is always that aspect of being careful not to, just simply copy what somebody else is doing for the sake of doing that. But look into some other areas of people that are maybe, lateral to what you're doing, involved in some other discipline that is related to yours, and see the trends of where they're going, see where you can maybe add some value to that or learn from that.
Right.
So that's really
cool.
cool.
Yeah. And that whole idea of like never arriving.
Yeah.
And always learning.
Yep.
And I mean, if you look at her work, you should follow her on Instagram. I mean, the photography, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And yet she doesn't believe she's arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And many of us, I know myself.
Oh, you've arrived, Daniel.
I mean, I have arrived.
Yeah.
Nate's almost there.
I'm working on it.
You're almost there.
Yeah.
But seriously though, like, having that perspective and that outlook on yourself and your craft is only going to continue to make you better.
Yep.
And I think that's a huge lesson we can learn from this.
I always go back to this, and I'm going to slaughter it royally, but there's that grid, and somebody should tell me what it's called, but the grid of you know, or you don't know what you don't know, and then you know what you should know, which we're never there, but you want to live in this kind of quadrant of that you don't know.
Right.
And it's a process even to get to that point, because a lot of times you're living in this area where it's like, man, you need to improve, but you're not taking any steps to do that. And then you can also be in the dangerous quadrant of you think you know everything and you truly don't, but you act like you do. And so how do you live in this constant state of humility of, hey, I know I can be better. I know I can be improving. And I'm really going to take those steps in order to get there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, way to not butcher that.
Oh, I still did, man.
Well done. Well done.
It's somewhere in some leadership book or something, but it's something I go back to. But yeah,
well done.
Thank you.
You did it.
Well done to you, sir.
Oh, hey,
another episode in the can.
Another episode. Yeah. So if by now, I think this is episode 12. If by now you guys don't know the drill, I'm just going to repeat
That's
it.
a year of episodes. One a month. Episode 12. That's a milestone, man.
Hey, congratulations, everyone.
Yeah. Should have a cake.
Yeah.
Next
or ice cream.
No, yeah, sure.
Are you a cake person or
I'm
ice
both,
cream?
man.
Both. Ice cream and cake.
Yeah. Why stop? Cake.
All right. So subscribe, like, share. This podcast is for the production community, and the only way that can happen is by you guys sharing it out to your friends and helping them become aware of it. This is meant to highlight and honor you guys, and so we hope that it does that.
Absolutely.
And until next time, man, what's our sign off? 12 episodes in and we don't have a sign off?
Figure it out for the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one.
Later.
Goodbye.
Thank you.